Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Ariel Louwrier. I'm the president of StressMarq Biosciences. I would submit to you that I'm living proof that not everybody on the West Coast sits on a rock, smokes dope, and meditates. We've recently been interested in creating, similarly to a little bit what the SYNAP presentation was about, looking at small moieties, but specifically for oxidative stress and some post-translational modifications. And on the left-hand side, you'll see the sort of network of moieties that we're interested in looking at. And at the top, you'll see some of the more traditional ones, like citrulline and glucnac. But then there's sort of a host here of these lipid peroxidation products, such as dibromotyrosine, hexanoyl lysine. And I'll look a little bit at these in a little bit more detail in a moment, HHE and HNE. I'll use those acronyms because they're pretty unpronounceable names in general. But then also going on to 7-ketocholesteryl and 6-nitroptryptophan. The interesting thing for us, of course, ultimately we want to sell these things. And these have very, very limited penetration in the market. So there's maybe anywhere between 0 and 1 or 2 competitors, which is saying something for the antibody market. We also have thrown in some other post-translational modifications here, such as sulfatyrosine and N-terminal arginine, which is, again, one of the newer post-translational modifications that are being studied. On the other side here, what we're also doing at the same time, it's actually part of the original work, is provide those controls directly conjugated to BSA, and we provide those in tandem. Just to have a look at some of the sort of real speed chemistry here, have a look at the size of some of these molecules, acrolein, HNE, and HNE, and I just want you to look at these little side chains. There's a few carbons there between those two. So to be able to generate a monoclonal antibody that can discern these two molecules from each other is really quite something. Malonyl-dialdehyde, methyl dioxyl as well. Very, very small moieties. So what's the relevance here? Just take a look at the disease states on the left-hand side. Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, cancer, cardiovascular, diabetes, liver disease, etc. Oh, that got screwed up there. Anyway. In this case, we're just drilling down a little here, and we're looking at 2 of those modifications that I talked about earlier, malonyl-dialdehyde and HNE. If we go drill down even further and just pick one of those and see where HNE is actually involved, it's one of those wonderful biomarkers that takes you from a situation where you just have a regular amount of modification and the cell just goes through its normal cleanup process, all the way to the sort of mid scenario where there's, some alarm bells going and we have to start thinking about the autophagy processes to clean up the cell and rescue it, all the way to the, on your right-hand side there, cell death. So I just want to show you a few results that we have here, and this is really sort of the yes-no scenario. I love yes-no, black-white, okay? I don't do gray. I possibly can help it. So we want to look at BSA. Look at just BSA and then the modified version of it with that either post-translational modification on it or that lipid peroxidation product on it. And here we see citrulline. Sorry, did I scooch forward? I did not. On the ground. So again, acrolein on the left, BSA on the right. Clean as a whistle. A yes, no. Hexanoyl lysine, same thing. Hang on, did I go forward too? I guess I started. Sorry. Okay, start with the HNE. Here, so this is the situation where on this side here we have HNE and directly next to it we have the HHE. Just remember those 3 carbons. That's the difference between these 2 moieties. So we can get antibodies that can discern between the 2. NDA, again here I switched forward a little bit initially, but very, very clean. Methyl glyoxyl on your right hand side, same thing. Acrolein, hexanoyl lysine, exactly the same, clean as a whistle. Sulfatyrosine, a little bit more complicated, but you can see on the left-hand side we have the sulfatyrosine. Next to it, we have just a tyrosine modified BSA, and then phosphotyrosine, also something pretty small on the same amino acid. Clean as a whistle. Citrulline is a little bit more complicated because part of that molecule resembles part of the glucnac moiety. So we get antibodies that can see both, albeit at higher concentrations, or ones that have the total specificity. N-terminal arginine, again, one of these newer post-translational modifications. They are present on either a glutamate or an aspartate. Also on a cysteine, but cysteine is complicated, so we've ignored cysteine. But in this case, you can see that we can have antibodies that have the dual specificity or a monospecificity. Okay, and then right next to it, we have these other peptides that show that the glutamate or the aspartate that is recognized is not on the inside, it is on the N-terminals. We run these things through flow as well, and this is just a few examples. Acrolein, MDA here, N-terminal, arginine. These can be used for flow and have been already. And then in a little bit more detail, I mean, when we actually take cells and we subject them to the hydrogen peroxide treatment that would mimic the lipid peroxidation processes, you can see here as we go along from control to hydrogen peroxide that we're getting an increase in sigma. Okay, here we have the DAPI and the fallopian and the merge at the bottom. And then finally, just sort of get a brief idea of what the market might look like. As an example, this is just an aggregate of all I've already shown you, thrown together. I'm looking at PubMed references and how they've increased over time. The last one is a projection based on where we are sort of halfway through the year. But to give you an idea, we sell, I would guess, something like 400 8-OHDG, which is DNA damage kits a year, and that runs at about 280. So there's a lot of room in the market, and I would submit to you that we are probably one of 50 companies that makes DNA damage kits and antibodies. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and the only competitors that exist would exceed our pricing by between 300% and 600%. Thank you very much. I think, was that within my 5 minutes?